We have Shon Neyland, who is the senior pastor at Highland Christian Center in Northeast Portland. Pastor Neyland, are you there?
Yes. Maggie, how are you?
Oh, sir, I'm doing really well. Thank you. And thank you so much for taking the time. I know one of our reporters, I think Morgan Romero, talked to you outside City Hall downtown after Friday night's protest, and you just had really strong feelings about the rioting and the violence not representing the message of the peaceful protesters. I mean, we've all seen what happened over the last few days. What's it like to watch this tonight and to see this contrast?
Yes, it is very heartwarming to see a peaceful protest, people still crying out, we want justice, we want to honor the legacy, or the memory, I should say, of Mr. Floyd, but doing it in a way that our nation and our system is set up to hear the people under the Constitution, free speech, to march peacefully, to let the voices be heard concerning justice in America.
Sure. Sir, earlier this evening, protesters, sort of came to the area near the Justice Center, and they spoke a bit with police. I'm not sure if you got to see or hear any of that, but there were some conversations being had. I understand that I believe that you've had conversations with city leaders over the last few days. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes. I've had the privilege to attend the mayor's events over the last few days and particularly Saturday and Sunday, and with other faith group leaders and other community activists and leaders. And the mood was pretty much the same, that we all wanted to see peace and decry the violence, and we want to see justice. Our hearts go out to the Floyd family. It was heartbreaking to see, I don't know if you saw it today, to see the brother, the younger brother, give his testimony or his remembrance of his brother on the air. I mean, he cried, he sobbed. It's a painful thing, but what I remember him saying is that no one is hurting like me, and I don't believe we should be violent. I don't believe we should be, in his words, tearing things up. We need to remember my brother and march for justice, march for peace, and change in our system. And that's what I want to say, is that I believe it's time for America to change. And we need reform in our criminal justice system. We need reform in how we treat people who are of African descent, Hispanic descent particularly, and it is almost as if we have a target on us, and that's the cry you hear across America. And what I'm excited about is the European descent, Asian descent, Hispanic descent, African descent, all coming together, Native American, indigenous groups, saying enough America, Pacific Islanders, saying enough. We need to come together. We're marching together as one, and that's the only way we're going to overcome.
Sure. Pastor, I just want to let people know really quickly, the person that we've seen climbing that object, that's happening in the middle of the Burnside Bridge. And again, things are still really peaceful. We really hope that person is being careful, because as peaceful as this is, that is objectively dangerous. So we just want to make sure. Oh, man.
Yes, I see it.
Cheering.
I'm watching it with you, and that is dangerous. As we have discussed, there will always be those outsiders, if you will, perhaps seeking attention. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, I wanted to ask you, too, your take on Governor Kate Brown's activating the National Guard. It is such a rare move in in Oregon. It is such an extreme move. It's one that we haven't seen in Oregon since the 80s. In your mind, What message did that send? What did you think of that call?
And you know, I have a military background, as I may have shared on Saturday's interview. 35 years of consecutive service to our nation, retired last year. And when I think about the National Guard being called, being a military person, I don't have an issue with it for law, order, and justice. I think it sends a message of, in some sense, calm. And I know, as I've often said, and people across the nation have said, and most of us acknowledge that 90 to 95% of the protesters are peaceful. It is just that 5%, that 10% that would rise up to cause damage, unthinkable damage, cause pain to people's businesses, our community. And so there are times in a crisis where you have to step up to the plate. And I personally would commend Governor Brown on taking that action, given the looting, the violence we had seen over the last couple of days. And we needed that extra control, not to hurt the protesters, not to stop the protesting, but in fact to ensure that they were safe to march. And if I can call your attention to the civil rights era, for instance, the march from Selma to Montgomery, it wasn't until the President Johnson said, that's it, send in the escorts. Let's escort them with all of our might to ensure that they are free to demonstrate and march for civil rights.
All right, I know KGW anchor Laural Porter had a question for you. Laural?
Hi, Pastor. First of all, let me thank you for your service. Listening to you describe that, daughter of a Navy pilot, so I really admire your service. I did want to ask you.
Outstanding.
What your?
I'm sorry, I just said outstanding.
I know, that's my dad says the same thing. You know,
your father.
I could tell, military all the way. I wanted to ask your take on how you feel the Portland police have handled the situation the last couple of nights. As we watch this person up on this traffic structure, we're all a little bit concerned about that.
Yes, I am pleased with the Portland police. I know there was heavy criticism from Friday night because I was there with them on Saturday morning. I walked with the assistant chief. I heard them speak. I heard the mayor speak and the city council woman speak and so forth, and including our fire chief. But I will tell you, I would agree with their strategy on that first night because we were unprepared. We had never seen such a riot in the history, as I understand it, of Portland. I am new, but as I listened to everyone, we had never had such a riot. So they were caught off guard, but yet they were purposely not fully engaged because they were asked in the past, and the civic leaders even acknowledged that they were part of those who asked the police to stand back a bit for normal rallies because it throws people off. They get intimidated. In this case, as you know, it turned for the worst. But the next night, I saw and watched after doing the tour with the mayor on Saturday night was not as bad. And it was still there. But then I believe, as you can see tonight, I think the people have responded and the police are to be commended. And I want to echo what I've heard from this morning as well from Reverend Munding, that the NAACP president, that the police are not our enemies. They are a part of the solution. What we need though, is police reform across the nation. We need more diversity training and sensitivity training for the interactions with people who look different, and to treat everyone as a human being and give them the right respect and dignity. But the issue has been when there has been this systemic problem of ingrained racism over the years, from the early slave days all the way till now, where those in authority with the badge have abused that power at certain times. Again, 95% of the police officers are doing their duties and serving well. But again, as in every fragment of society or every area of society, there's a fragment that will be negative, and they will abuse their position. And so from what I can see, I have relatives who are police officers. I have congregation members who are police officers. One pastor, Israel Hill, who is rising up the ranks. He's a sergeant in the police department. So I'm proud of our police. I support the police. I'm just asking for justice. I'm asking for fairness. If you see a person of Hispanic descent, African descent, treat them with kindness. Treat them as you would treat a person of European descent. Do not become overly aggressive only because of the color of one's skin. And this then is where the problem is across America.
I have one other question, but as we look at this video, I just wanted to point out the truck here that we talked about earlier that says peace on the truck, and a couple of vehicles going by that almost look like floats. This is would have been Rose Festival weekend, so interesting to see what we're having happen downtown instead. One other question for you, Pastor. You talk about social justice reform and wanting change. We do have a new district attorney-elect in Mike Schmidt that was elected with 77% of the vote in Multnomah County, and he ran on a platform of social justice reform, criminal justice reform, decreasing disparity in the criminal justice system. Does that give you encouragement?
It does. It does, because I am aware of the historic need for change in our criminal justice system. When you look at the incarceration rates per capita, it is out of balance. In other words, those across America and in Portland, those who commit crimes, if you are, again, of African descent or Hispanic descent, you are more likely to be incarcerated, and even your sentencing, Laural, will be longer generally. And you're, again, more likely to be convicted. And not only that, your sentencing is even longer. And I have studied the statistics over the years, and it is an incredible system. And our entire criminal justice system needs to be reformed. And again, I sound like a broken record, but it is a fact. There is systemic racism from the past. But there are good people like our new person who wants to change the system, is run on that platform and said, we need reform. We need fairness in our sentencing. We need fairness in our conviction. And the only way it's going to happen is if we have a heart. We have a heart of compassion for all people, and we don't see people as less than because of the hue of their skin or melanin in their DNA, that we're all human beings in God's eyesight, and then it can be fair. And I'm not saying that If someone commits a crime, they may have to do the time. But don't allow those who commit a crime, and if you are of a less melanin in your DNA, a European descent, that you get an easy sentence and you get off, whereas a person of African descent, in this case, gets the book thrown at them. And these are the issues over the years that there's been an outcry for reform in our judicial system, in our criminal justice system across America. And the president even jumped on this not long ago and has pushed for criminal justice reform in America.
Well, Pastor, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us tonight. And I know a lot of people are hoping that all of these protests lead to the change that you're talking about. So thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you both, Maggie and Laural. I really appreciate the opportunity to share just some thoughts, and I wish America all the best. I know we are strong. I believe in unity. I believe we can overcome this, and my word to all those who may be tuning in tonight, to the listening audience, is let's come together, let's respect one another, let's love one another, let's try to understand one another as the police have been doing all across the nation. They've been kneeling, they've been praying, they've been having conversations. This is the kind of change that begins to bridge the connection, and then we need real tangible changes by actual tangible things happening in each of the departments and rooting out evil across the organizations. So we appreciate that. God bless you, and thank you for the opportunity.
All right, that was Senior Pastor Shon Neyland of Highland Christian Center in Portland. Sir, thank you so much. And